you for joining me today at Forged from the Ashes podcast. Today we are doing episode number 8, titled The Day After Rock Bottom. And in previous episodes, I talk about my rock bottom and what hit me so hard. And in this episode, I'm going to go through that next day that was pretty rough. And, the next morning I woke up and the first thing I felt, it wasn't clarity. It was pain. It was like my head felt like someone had hit me with a wooden baseball bat. Just not a headache, but that deep pounding, heavy kind of pain that makes it hard to even think straight. My stomach was so twisted and sick, like it didn't know whether it wanted to settle down or just completely give up. And my body, fuck man, my body, it felt drained, completely drained. Like everything had been pulled out of me. All I wanted to do was go back to sleep. And it wasn't not that real sleep. The kind of sleep where you hide, where you shut down everything and you pretend like nothing ever happened before. Because somewhere in that moment before everything fully came back, there was a part of me hoping it wasn't real, hoping that it was like a dream. My first real thought was it real? And what really happened? Why am I still here? And that one hit different because it wasn't relief, it was total confusion. Yeah, I remember laying there in my bed, not moving, just kind of staring, and everything felt off. Everything, the room and everything looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. It's like all of the color had been just drained out of it. And everything had this like grayish tint to it, kind of like flat, lifeless, just that gray fog. Whatever I had in me, whatever energy, whatever life, whatever fight, it was gone. And then I realized I wasn't alone. My wife was there. She hadn't gone to bed. She was the one who came in, woke me up, and as soon as I was up, she left. And the second that registered, everything kind of shifted because now it wasn't just about how I felt. It was about what she saw, what she had gone through, what she was sitting with while I was passed out. And attention in that room, you could feel it. And it wasn't loud. There wasn't any yelling. There wasn't chaos, but it was there, heavy, thick. You could feel it in the air, almost like you could just slice through it. And at first, I didn't want to look at her, not yet, because I had already knew what had kind of transpired that night. And I didn't need her to say anything. I didn't need an explanation. I didn't need details. I knew. And that's the part nobody prepares you for, because the night before, everything was loud. It was chaotic. Everything was moving fast. But the morning after, it was quiet. And that quiet forces you to sit in it. For a few seconds, just stayed there. I didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even want to fully open my eyes, because I knew the second I actually got up, the second I faced that room, it was real. And there was no undoing it. And it started coming back to me, not all at once, but enough. Little bits and pieces just started to kind of flowing back in. Moments, little fragments, like the drinking, the fighting, the kind of the way everything escalated. And that is the part that hit harder than everything else. How close I came, not in some distant hypothetical way, but in a real, it almost ended right there kind of way. And when that realization hits you in the morning, it doesn't feel like panic. It feels like weight, like an elephant, just something sitting on your chest, like pressing you down, like you can't move, reminding you that you can't ignore it anymore because now you've seen it all. Now you know how far it went. And once I saw that, I did not want to go back. I finally forced myself to move very slow and heavy. Like every part of me didn't want to do it. Sitting up just kind of felt like a lot of work to do, just to get up. Even putting my feet on the ground felt like something I had to push through. Then I got up and I walked down the hall, and then I saw her sitting on the kitchen floor crying. And that moment, that's the one that sucks. And it stuck with me. Not the fight, not the drinking, not even what almost happened to me. It was seeing her like that, because in that moment, it wasn't about me anymore. It was about what I had done, what I had put her through, what she thought she was going to walk out and find. That's where the guilt hit. And it hit hard. And the shame right behind it. But still, underneath all of that, there was still something else. Numb. Almost like I didn't even fully know how to process what I was looking at. Like my mind hadn't caught up to my reality yet. And the combination, and that was a dangerous place to be, because part of you feels everything and then the other part feels nothing. And you're kind of stuck right in the middle of it. And for me, that's what the day after rock bottom felt like. It wasn't loud and it wasn't explosive, but it was quiet. That eerie, scary type of quiet. And it was honest. There was no distractions and no escape. And there was no way I could talk my way out of it. It was just my actions. And the reality sitting right in front of me. And in that moment, I knew something, not a plan, not even a solution, not even like my next clear step on what I was going to do. But I couldn't keep going the way I was going, because I had finally seen where it leads. Not imagined, not guessed. I actually saw it. And once I saw that, I don't get to pretend anymore. That's what the morning after gives you. Not comfort, not answers, clarity. And sometimes the most uncomfortable thing you can have, clarity. I stood there for a second, didn't say anything, didn't really know what to say. Because how do you even start that conversation? What do you say after a night like that? Sorry? That doesn't touch it. It won't happen again. That don't mean shit. So I just stood there looking at her and sitting on the floor, crying loud, not yelling, just completely broken. And that hit differently because when someone is yelling and someone is angry, you can react to that. You can kind of defend yourself. You can push back. But when someone is quiet like that, when they're just sitting there hurt and broken, there's nowhere to go. There's literally no escape from it. And I remember walking over slowly, not even knowing what I was going to do when I got there. And the closer I got, the heavier it felt because now it wasn't just in my head anymore. Now it literally right in front of me, what I had done, what I had put her through, what she thought she might have lost. And I think that's when it really hit me. Not just that I messed up, not how far it had gone, but she looked at me differently, not angry, not even really upset in a way you can expect. She looked scared. And that's something I wasn't ready to see because anger, I understood. Arguments, I understood. But fear, that meant something else. That meant she didn't know what I was capable of. And that's a different kind of damage. Yeah, I do remember trying to say something, but nothing came out right. Words felt empty. Like anything I said would just sound like another fucking excuse, another fucking promise, another thing she'd probably heard before. So there were moments where we just sat there in silence. And that silence said more than anything I could have put in words. Because in that silence, everything was there. The night before, the drinking, the fight, the fear, the uncertainty, all of it. And I could feel it. I could feel the distance between us, even though we were in the same room. And that's when the guilt really started to settle in. Not loud, not overwhelming, just steady. Like something wasn't going anywhere because I knew this wasn't just another bad night. This wasn't something I could just brush off. This wasn't even something I could explain away. There was a different, and I think she knew it too, because there wasn't a big argument that morning. There wasn't a long conversation. There was just reality. And sometimes that's harder to deal with than anything else. Because when everything calms down and the noise is gone, when there's nothing left to hide, all you're left with is the truth. I saw exactly where I was, not where I thought I was, not even where I told myself was, but where I actually was. And it wasn't good. Not for me, not for her, not for anyone around me. And I think when it really settled in, I couldn't keep going like this. Not because someone told me to, not because I got caught, not because I felt pressured, but because I finally saw it clear. And once I saw that, I don't get to ignore it anymore. And there wasn't some big moment where everything suddenly made sense. There wasn't a switch that just flipped and fixed everything. There wasn't even a clear pan. What there was awareness. And it's hard to explain that unless you've felt it, because it's not loud. It doesn't come with motivation or energy. It comes with clarity, the kind you can't ignore. And I remember standing there looking at everything in front of me and realizing I had run out of excuses. There was nothing left to blame. Not my past, not my stress, not my circumstances, not even the addiction. Because at that point, I had seen where it all leads. And once I saw that, again, I don't get to pretend anymore. I knew I couldn't keep going like this. Not because I suddenly became a different person, but because I finally saw the truth of who I had become. And that's a hard thing to face, because it's not about what you tell yourself. It's not about what you meant to do. It's about what actually happening. And what was actually happening was destructive. Slow at first, then faster, until it almost took out everything. Standing there in that moment, I knew something had to change. Not eventually, not when things got better, not when it was more convenient, now. And here's the part where a lot of people don't talk about. Just knowing that doesn't fix anything. That realization doesn't suddenly make it easier. It doesn't take the cravings away, and it does not repair the damage. It just removes the ability to lie to yourself. And that's uncomfortable, because now you're left with a choice, not a dramatic one, not some big celebration, a quiet one. The kind that happens in your own head, whether you keep going or you don't. And in that one moment, I knew I couldn't keep going. Not like that. I didn't have it all figured out. I didn't know what true recovery looked like. I didn't know how I was going to fix everything I fucked up. But I knew one thing: I could not stay where I was. And sometimes that's where it starts, not with a plan, not with confidence, but a decision, a quiet, uncomfortable, honest decision that something has to change. And that was it. Not a victory, not a breakthrough, just the beginning. And if you've been there before, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because that moment, that quiet realization, is where everything starts. And if there's one thing I want people to take away from this episode, is don't ignore the things you don't understand. Don't push away what feels uncomfortable to think about, because awareness isn't about scaring yourself. It's about being informed. It's about being present. It's about understanding that life doesn't always follow the script we expect it to. You don't have to have all the answers Just don't give up on yourself. And remember, we rise, we recover, and we reignite hope together. Thank you again. This is Jeff with Forged from the Ashes, and I will see you for episode number 9, Conversations with My Wife. Thank you.